Today, sir, we are from Masters Nur Shafi and Shah, and today I will briefly summarize the gist of the movie Witness for the Prosecution in 1982. In this movie, Sir Wilfred Roberts, who is an ailing barrister recovering from a heart attack, received a call back to the courtrooms for defending Leonard Ball, who is a man on trial of murder of an affluent widow, Emily French, and in this case, it turned out to be one of the most dramatic murder cases in the legal career of the barrister. So Sir Wilfred was determined to represent him, but he discovered himself against Christine, Leonard's cold-hearted wife, who unexpectedly was resolute to go against her husband. Before the trial, Sir Wilfred informed Christine that the jury would not accept any alibi as provided by her wife. Thus, she pretended to be a spiteful and betraying wife and gave evidence against her husband before forging letters addressed to a mysterious lover, Max, who did not exist. Eventually, it discredited her evidence and led to the acquittal of her husband, Leonard.
The evidence that can be found from the movie Witness for the Prosecution, which in favor of prosecution side, is statement from Inspector Herney, the arresting officer, in the witness box. According to Section 3, Subsection A of Evidence Act 1950, oral statement made by witnesses before court in relation to facts in issue can be regarded as evidence. In order oral evidence to be admissible in court, it must comply with Section 60 of Evidence Act, where the oral statement given must be direct. This means that a witness can be evidence of only those facts which he has been heard or perceived by any of his five senses, and the witness himself must appear in court to testify his statement, not being done by others. Meanwhile, in Section 5 of Evidence Act stated that only relevant facts can be produced as evidence. This principle can also be seen from an English case, R. against Apicella, where the judge in his judgment stated that a basic principle of law of evidence is that evidence which is relevant should be admitted, unless there is a rule of law which says that it should not be. Furthermore, the relevancy of statement from Inspector Herney can be seen by virtue of Section 7 of Evidence Act, where facts which are occasion, cause or effect of facts in issue are relevant evidence, and the facts in issue in this case is cause of Emily French's death. Besides, the inspector's statement can be referred to illustration B of Section 7 of this Act. In the case of Bandar Laundi against BP, the investigating officer stated that multiple slash wounds with hemorrhagic shock caused the deceased's death. The accused argued that the trial judge erred in law since he failed to produce inexistence of post-mortem evidence to ascertain what caused the wounds on the deceased, and the medical officer who ascertained the cause of death was not called to testify in court. Court stated that the recovery of dead body of victim or a vital part of it bearing marks of violence is sufficient proof of homicidal death of the victim. Based on the movie, Inspector Herney, the arresting officer, appeared before court in order to testify that accused had murdered the Emily French by giving oral statement pertaining to causes of Emily's death by referring to medical testimony. Since the inspector himself was called to testify in court, his statement is admissible to court by virtue of Section 3 and 60 of Evidence Act. Moreover, the inspector also stated that from medical testimony, the Emily was instantaneously died, caused by one blow from a blunt and heavy instrument. The statement considered as cause of Emily's death, and the inspector's statement is relevant by virtue of Section 7 of Evidence Act and by referring to case Bandar Laundi against BP.
The provision of oral evidence is governed under Section 3 and Section 60 of Evidence Act. In this movie, the housekeeper of the deceased, Janet McKenzie, was called as a witness for prosecution to give a statement under oath. According to Section 6, Janet is among the individuals present in the building where the murder occurs. She holds significance as a key witness, having both seen and heard things relevant to the event. Pursuant to Section 7, the occurrence of the opportunities is relevant. Janet's testimony stated that upon her arrival home at 9:30 p.m., the deceased was still alive. She witnessed the deceased laughing at someone, likely the accused who frequently visited. It presents a possible situations where the accused had the opportunity to commit murder. This aligns with the precedent case in the case of Aziz bin Muhammad, suggesting the potential for a similar scenario. By applying the case of R against resertion, Christine's work testimonial corroborates Janet's account by indicating the accused returned home at 10:10 p.m. with a bleeding sleeve on his coat. This not only suggests his presence at the deceased home, but also provides a potential time frame for the murder. The timing coincides with the estimated time of death provided by the arresting officials, further strengthening the narrative. The interconnected nature of this testimonial and their alignment with the estimated time of death make them more compelling and likely to be admissible in court. The consistency between the Christian's account and the estimated time of death add weight to the overall narrative. Section 8 stipulates a motive to commit a crime. The deceased will, leaving a substantial sum of £80,000 to the accused, served as a potential motive for the murder. Janet's testimony regarding the discussion between the deceased and the accused about the will a week before the murder suggests the accused's knowledge of the inheritance. The accused being unemployed is significant as it implies a potential finance motive. This, coupled with the accused's interest in an expensive foreign crew, raises the questions on how he planned to finance such a trip given his lack of employment. It is essential to note that much of this evidence is circumstantial, implying connections and motive rather than providing direct proof or guide. However, when considered together, these pieces of evidence form a compelling narrative surrounding the motive and opportunity for the accused in relation to the murder.
Now for the evidence in favor of the accused. Firstly, we have identified a documentary evidence which is the love letter written by Christine to Max. It is mentioned in Section 3, subsection A of the Evidence Act that letters are also part of a document which can be a documentary evidence. The evidence produced by the defense is love letters written by Christine to Max, exposing her lies during her testimony in court when she was called as a witness by the prosecution bench. This love letter proves that whatever she said prior to this love letter being tendered in court is inadmissible and destroys the prosecution case. Section 62 primary evidence, it means that the document itself produced for the inspection of the court. Based on this section, the love letters are primary evidence for the defense as the same exact letters that she wrote was tendered by the defense lawyer in court to be inspected both by the maker, Christine, and the court. Section 67, in this case, Christine proceeded to describe what would be her letter by saying she only wrote her letters on small blue papers with her initials on it, to which the defense lawyers produced to the court the original letter written on small blue papers with Christine Vol's signature on it. It was proved to the court that the letter was indeed written by Christine, as Christine herself had admitted to the court how she writes her letters and described her letter paper and initial prior to the letter being shown in court. Now on to the relevancy of the love letter, we have applied Section 8 and Section 9 of the Evidence Act 1950. Also, we have referred to the case of Yo Hock Cheng against R, in which the appellant was convicted of the murder of a girl. A letter purported to be written by the deceased girl to the inspector in charge of the police station, informing him that her father was forcing her to marry Cheng, which is the appellant, and that she was going off with one Ahmad to another country to live with him as husband and wife. It was relevant to show conduct under illustration E, which we have stated in this slide, that it was proof that the letter was actually written by the appellant, providing evidence which would tend to give to the facts of the case an appearance favorable to himself. In applying Section 8 and Section 9 of the Evidence Act, as well as the case of Yo Ho Cheng against R, after testifying in court against the accused, Christine proceeded to write a letter to a person named Max that what she said in court was all a lie. This is relevant to show that the letter written by Christine after she had testified in court was in favor of the accused, because during her testimony in court, she said that the accused came home past 10 and he had confessed to her that he had killed the victim, to which in the letter she admitted that it was a lie and she had planned to lie in court all along. The prosecution's case relied heavily on the witness statement by Christine in court. Thus, by tendering the love letters, it will impeach the credibility of Christine as a witness, as these letters prove that she had lied to the court, which indeed will destroy the prosecution's case because she had committed perjury. The letter will then work in favor of the accused. Also refer to Section 131, subsection 1 of the Evidence Act, in which you can see provided here in the slide. We have also referred to the case of public prosecutor against Sanasi, which states that a witness can only give evidence from the witness box and not from the dock or elsewhere. In Kuruma against the Queen, the test to be applied considering whether the evidence is admissible is whether it is relevant to matters in issue. If yes, then it is admissible. Defense lawyer had read to Christine what was contained in her letter. After hearing what was contained in the letter, the judge had directed Christine to go back to the witness box. When the witness is already back in the witness box, the defense lawyer, Mr. Wilfred, had asked her again whether or not she had written the letter, to which she answered yes. This evidence is admissible as the witness gave the statement still under oath and in the witness box as per the case of PP against Sanasi. Since the evidence produced were all relevant to the murder case, thus the evidence are also admissible.
Based on Section 3 and Section 7 of Evidence Act 1950 that have been mentioned here, the kitchen knife and the blood stain on the Leonard Bowles jacket is relevant to prove the innocence of Leonard Bowles and to counter the prosecution's side. The prosecution has stated that the blood in the jacket is type O, which belongs to Mrs. French. Meanwhile, Leonard Bowles claimed that the blood stain on his jacket is caused by a household incident. Prior to the event, Leonard Bowles accidentally cut himself with a kitchen knife while he was slicing bread, and the blood splashed the jacket he wore that day. The kitchen knife was tendered as evidence supported by a certificate produced stating that Leonard Stephen Bowles is a blood donor, type O, at the North London Hospital. Therefore, the discovery of kitchen knife and blood stain on his jacket is relevant to explain the fact that something had happened to cause the blood stain on Leonard Bowles' jacket. The case of Siddiq Umar against Emperor is applicable here. The kitchen knife and the blood stain was relevant in order to prove that it is not the victim's blood that got on his jacket, it is his own blood. With this evidence, the prosecution cannot prove their prima facie case. Based on Section 5 of Evidence Act 1950 states that evidence may be given of facts in issue and relevant facts and real evidence can be defined as tangible items. Real, for instance, in murder case, the murder weapon is a real evidence. The kitchen knife here is not a weapon in the murder case, but it is a part of evidence to prove that the blood stain from the Leonard Bowles jacket is of his own and not Mrs. French. The murder weapon or any substance can be tendered as exhibit in court. Therefore, evidence can be that which tends to prove the existence or non-existence of some fact where it may consist of oral evidence, documentary evidence, or real evidence may be admitted as exhibit as decided in Foley against R. In conclusion, the discovery of kitchen knife and blood-stained jacket of the accused is relevant and admissible in court.
Now I will conclude the case of witness for the prosecution. As you all know, the case of witness for the prosecution filled with a lot of twists, revelation, conflicting evidence, and it also involves a dramatic turns of events that significantly impacts the perception of guilt or innocence regarding Leonard Bowles. Throughout the trial, the prosecution attempts to establish Leonard Bowles' guilt based on circumstantial evidence, oral evidence by the witness, statement from the inquiry officer, post-mortem report, and financial condition of Leonard Bowles. Whereas, the defense builds its case on providing documentary evidence, which is the love letter, challenging witness testimonies, questioning the reliability of the evidence, which is the knife, are crucial elements that influence the jury's decision about Bowles' innocence. The audience and readers are kept on edge, continuing questioning Bowles' culpability as a new information emerged and unexpected twists unfold during the trial. However, the case takes unexpected turns as the defense, led by Sir Wilfred Roberts, fiercely challenged the prosecution narrative. A key turning point in the trial occurs when a surprise witness, Romaine Leonard Bowles' wife, appears in court. Her testimony becomes crucial, offering a stunning revelation that significantly impacts the case direction. In the end, after including intricate turns, disclosures, and dramatic courtroom scenes, the trial ultimately resulted in case resolution where the defendant found not guilty since the defense counsel proved the innocence of Leonard Bowles.